Welcome to the Love Holistic Living Podcast, your roadmap to heal and align mind, body, and soul and become intuitive through food, pleasure, and spirituality with your host and Italian friend, Sara. How to cut a soul tie. This is the most requested video of the year, so make sure that you subscribe and like this episode because this is what you guys asked. And what you ask, you receive. So thank you again for being part of the community, for following this journey. And if you follow me on Instagram at love.holistic.living, I talk about soul ties all the time. As a energy healer and spiritual healer and clairvoyant, I see energies all the time. I pretty much see the 5D world when you guys see the 3D. So I see and scan the body, but I also see when someone is connected to other people and or they have cords inside that must be cut. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 5 steps in order to cut the soul tie. So make sure that you watch it until the end so you don't miss anything. Subscribe and like this episode. And thank you for again following this journey. So let's begin with an intro because maybe you're new to soul tie. So here is what a soul tie is. A soul tie is a deep emotional and spiritual connection between two individuals. This connection is often thought to form through birth, like family members, intimate relationships such as romantic partnerships, close friendships, and or significant emotional experiences. Now, there are different types of soul ties, and this is what I want to talk to you about today, because it is important for you to understand that there is the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual soul tie. An emotional soul tie is formed through deep emotional connection between two individuals. Now, the physical soul tie, this is typically formed through physical intimacy, and the spiritual soul tie is typically formed through a shared spiritual experience and or a past life. Now, it is important to understand the formation of these soul ties. And as you are listening to this episode, take some notes and or leave a comment on what you think is the connection, the soul tie that you have with that one person you have in mind. To help you better understand a soul tie, I will begin with the story of when a young woman first met a young man at a festival she was working at. They locked eyes only briefly, but in that moment, the young woman felt something inexplicable, kind of like an electric pull that both thrilled and frightened her. After the event, the two people did not see each other much, nor kept in touch. But over the course of 7 years, they kept meeting in random places at random times. They were both shocked at the synchronicities of life. Until one day, at the right time, date, and location, they met again at a pool party. They talked for hours. Their conversation flew effortlessly, like they'd known each other before, or forever. Over the next few months, they became inseparable, and the connection was unlike anything that the young woman had experienced before. She could sense his emotions without him saying a word and vice versa, and his presence filled spaces in her heart she hadn't known were empty. But as deeply as they connected, the relationship had its shadows. And the young man carried a pain he rarely spoke of, and his silence sometimes left the young woman feeling untethered. They would have periods of intense closeness followed by weeks of distance, where the young man seemed unreachable. Yet, no matter how many times they pulled apart, they always found their way back to each other. The young woman tried to move on during one of their separations. She met other people, threw herself into work, but he was always there in her dreams, in the lyrics of songs, in the faintest whisper of memories. It was like as if an invisible thread bound them together, tugging her back whenever she thought she was free. So one night, she asked Spirit, desperate for answers, what are we, Spirit? Why does it feel like I can't let go no matter how much I try? Soul tie, Spirit whispered in her ears. And that night she realized the nature of their soul tie. It wasn't about possession or obligation. It was about healing. They were mirrors reflecting each other's wounds and light, yet their bond couldn't flourish without self-discovery and growth. She decided to step back, not to sever the tie, but to entangle the tie. She began to heal, setting boundaries and learning to love herself first. From the entangle, she was able to reclaim herself and her power and actually cut the ties. Years later, they met again by chance. The electric pull was still there, but it no longer overwhelmed her. Instead, it felt like an old memory, familiar and warm. They smiled, exchanged a few words, and parted in ways, both carrying the marks of a love that taught them to become whole. Now, the young woman was me. Now, from the story you just heard, you can understand how the bond feels unexplainable and very strong to cut. It feels almost impossible when you are in this vortex of energy. And I'm sure that if you are in it right now or you have been, you know what I'm talking about. So comment right now, leave me with a yes, I've experienced it, to let me know that you know what I'm talking about. Now, as I explained in the intro, you can have this type of bond with a family member, with your son, your daughter, your friend, multiple exes, your lover, and or with someone that you literally have just met or locked eyesight with. Which leads me to step number 2. Step number 2 is understanding the why you want to cut a soul tie. Now, this is absolutely important for you to understand, and especially for you to answer. You're the only person right now that can answer this question, because there are pros and cons in cutting the soul tie. And cutting the soul tie does not mean that you end the connection in the 3D world, which means that even if you cut a soul tie, you can still be in a relationship with that person and or seeing that person at work, in your home, in your environment. Cutting the soul tie, it means that you're recalling your energy back and power back to you, so that you stop feeling drained and or you stop feeling that pull that keeps you stuck in the past, maybe. Because oftentimes, as I shared in this story, and also many of you feel, even though you try to move on, you feel that pull, like you feel like someone is or has a hold of you and your energy. So the benefit of cutting a soul tie is for you to be able to be free emotionally and spiritually and physically sometimes, so that you can truly connect with the person and people that truly are deserving of your energy. And you can finally let go of the past and live your best life. Step number 3 is to understand your wound center. When two people form a soul tie, the bond often attaches to a wound center within one or two individuals. And these wound centers are emotional and spiritual vulnerabilities, often rooted in past experiences, traumas and or unmet needs. So identifying the wound center can illuminate why the connection feels so intense and or persistent. And here are some common wound centers that may resonate with you. So let me know in the comments which one resonates with you, like such as the abandonment wound, the self-worth, the trauma bonding, the guilt or the shame wound, or the loneliness wound. Now, I want you to remember something. Everything is a mirror of your inner reality. And if you can take what it is shown to you, clear it and move on, you will finally break patterns. You hear me say probably this all the time. Now, this leads me to step number 4, which is cutting the soul tie, which you can only perform when you've gone through the other steps. As a spiritual and energy healer, I hear so many people that complain about how cutting a soul tie does not work. And I agree. If you've never done the emotional inner work around the why this connection is still present. I also cut cords and move energies all the time for clients. And I can tell you from the experience that everyone has their own timing. So some people take one time to get over someone, other people take 3 months and or more. And divine timing is unique to you. So don't ever compare your healing journey to other people's. This goes a layer deeper. So breaking a soul tie involves an emotional, psychological, and spiritual effort that release the connection and helps you to regain your own power. Now, to recode your system and release this connection, you must release it from the root cause, the primary emotion or emotions that keeps the connection ongoing. I have the guided meditation and ritual where you will work deeply at a subconscious level, releasing a soul connection from the root cause, included in the How to Cut the Soul Tie mini course, which has helped hundreds of people cut the soul tie, feel free, and move on with their lives. So I will add that link down in the description below, so don't forget to check it out, which leads me to step number 5, which is rebuilding after a soul tie. Now, rebuilding includes developing a long-term strategy to avoid forming new unhealthy soul ties. You do not want to repeat the pattern. Now, it involves cultivating self-awareness, boundaries, positive relationship habits, and it is a journey of self-discovery and healing and empowerment. It helps you to reclaim your own energy, redefine your own identity, and find clarity, which once again, all of it is included in How to Cut the Soul Tie mini course, which has helped hundreds of people move forward and live their best life. Now, don't forget to check it out. And most importantly, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video, and a big ciao.